How old were you when you started riding?
I believe I started riding when I was 3. I did my first race right at the end of the year when I was 3. And then I was on a PW50. Just an older one, and that kind of just got me started. And I remember Kennedy Bame actually lapped me in that race. And that was kind of the beginning of it all right there.
Yeah.
And and then the next year I got a KTM 50 for Christmas. And then after that, me and my dad just basically been racing every single summer since then.
Do you have any brothers or sisters?
I have a sister, and I have a stepsister, and 2 stepbrothers.
Oh, wow. So 4 in the family?
Yeah, I got a pretty big family.
Yeah. And didn't you have a brother that raced? Stepbrother that raced?
Yeah. I had, actually both my stepbrothers raced at one point.
Yeah.
The one was intermediate, raced against Cody Rouse and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the other one, they actually both took the hockey route in the family, and I was the only one that took the motocross route. So.
Oh yeah. So in your small wheel career, were you always number 1?
No, actually, I mean guys like Kennedy Bame and Brock Shurry and even Brock's brother, Jared. I mean, all those guys, when we grew up, we were all battling all the time. I mean, 60s, they used to beat me all the time. And even in the 80s, Brock used to beat most of us all the time. So, I mean, that was the thing growing up is I never had a huge lead until I kind of, graduated to the bigger bike and was able to practice a little bit more, just had more responsibility of my own. So, my dad kind of let me free and just let me, do my own thing at the track. He didn't have to drive me anymore and stuff like that. So I think that's where it kind of began, where, I started progressing and I just started putting in more and more hours.
Once you were 16?
Yeah, right around there. I mean, we had a shop right, like 100 feet away from the track, actually, that we're at today. So, I mean, I'd ride my bike down to the shop and at the age of 14 and come out and ride pretty much every day. So, I mean, that was the nice thing is I was able to put in a lot of hours and
lots of seat time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's what helped me a lot in those younger years. And then as I grew up, obviously, there's stepping stones and there got to be a point where I knew I had to start training and progressing that way. If I wanted to get faster, I needed to get fitter and stronger.
When you were in your small wheel career, did you guys ever do any big events like Western Nationals or Walton? I think you told me once you never went to Walton until you were pro.
Yeah. Like you said, we never went to Walton. Just never really in our budget. We didn't have a lot of money growing up and stuff. So we, we always went to Raymond and stuff. But just.
How did you do in Raymond when you raced there in your small wheel career?
I wouldn't say I had bad luck, but I had a lot of problems. I had a lot of crashes and stuff because obviously when I grew up in Saskatchewan, Brock and Kennedy, those were my only competitors. And when I went there, the pace was a lot faster, and I tried to run their pace most of the time against Wilson and those types, and Luke Firth, and I just couldn't do it, and most of the time it ended up with me laying on the ground. So, I mean, I had a couple good years where, I was inside that top 5 at Raymond, but nothing that really stood out, no bronze boot award or anything like that.
No.
So,
did you ever get frustrated when you're riding small wheel bikes?
I would say no. And the reason I say that would be because my mom and dad never really put pressure on me to ever win.
Right.
I was never, expected to win or anything like that. It was more me and my dad, heading to the races, just having a good time.
That was their thing to do.
Yeah, that was our thing to do on the weekend. If we won or we did good, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
And if we didn't, that's the way it went. We didn't have a lot invested in it because we didn't have a lot of money at the time.
Right.
And I ran electrical tape numbers for most of my 80 years.
Yeah.
I still have pictures, where the 9 and the 2 are made out of red electrical tape. So,
right.
And geared never matched or anything like that. So it was more just something that we did. We just went racing and it was fun. We went to the lake during the week or whatever. And I was always doing other stuff too. So
Right.
yeah, I would never say I got really frustrated till I would say intermediate years, and that's really when my eyes were opened.
Oh yeah. Yeah. At what point did you decide that you wanted to make something out of yourself in motocross?
Well, I remember doing my very first national at Calgary, and I was actually the last person to qualify. It was back in the day when you had to race, so it was pretty cool. And I just remember that whole summer was, kind of up and down.
And you were an intermediate?
Yeah, I was an intermediate at the time.
MX2?
Yep, MX2 intermediate. And, I realized that I wasn't fit. I had a big crash in the spring that year, broke my shoulder blade. And I just knew at that point that I needed to gain the fitness and gain the confidence.
Right.
To come out, if I'm going to be pro, I want to do it right. And that's when I met, Blair Morgan actually kind of introduced me and my dad to my current trainer, Todd Schumacher from Conrads. And he was kind of my stepping stone into the pro ranks.
What was his name?
Todd Schumacher.
Todd
Schumacher, S-C-H. U-M-L-I-C-K. And he kind of opened things up fitness-wise. Obviously, he has a kinesiology degree and stuff, so he really knew the fitness well. And he really helped me, organize my thoughts and organize my goals, I could say, towards motocross. And that's kind of, when I started working with him, that's when I realized, I either had to put everything else on hold and, focus on motocross 100%, or I just need to get out of it now. And that's kind of at the age of 15, intermediate, I just made the decision, let's give it a shot and see where it takes us.
Right. So you'd say that a person has to have not just your fitness in order, but your the whole thought process.
Yeah, I mean, what people don't realize is, our day-to-day personal, attitude reflects our racing more than our racing reflects our personality. Because we're only racing, every once in a while on the weekend. We're only on our bike maybe, an hour or two, during the week or even at the races. So, I mean, all the rest of that time, you're yourself and your personality. I think that's what really affects racers and who they are. Most of the time, if you meet somebody, if you meet Blair Morgan or you meet any of those top guys, when you talk to them and stuff, you can almost tell who good racers are and stuff just by their personalities and stuff. So, I mean, I think that was the biggest thing, is really getting, my personal stuff straightened out. I mean, I was kind of a rebel child when I was young. I was starting to get into a lot of trouble, so I used motocross as an escape. To kind of, well, not really an escape, but
distraction.
Yeah, I used it. As something to look forward to and to, build on and grow on instead of, getting into that trouble and stuff. So.
Do you think Blair Morgan would be a pro that would be very influential in your career choice?
I mean, obviously it's pretty cool when somebody from your province, that races at a regional level or provincial level every once in a while, comes out and races. It's like, it's pretty inspiring to. And that's how I was. I remember Moose Jaw, I think I was on 85s or something. I remember him, watching him ride. He showed up at like 8:30 or something, did one lap of practice, and then went out and won or something. So, I mean, that was kind of the cool thing. It's just growing up, seeing that, it was possible from our province. So many pros come from, Alberta, BC, or Ontario, There's not a lot of pros that come out of the central division. So, I mean, that was kind of the cool thing, was just knowing that I could. More or less.
Why do you think there's more pros coming out of the West or the East versus Central?
I mean, obviously, the numbers in Ontario are a huge thing. So, the Medaglia brothers, all those guys out there, they have each other to push each other, and they're constantly pushing each other, and they're bumping their bar up every time they go on a race or ride. So, I mean, I think they use each other to get faster and stuff, and that's something that in the central provinces, our pro classes, we got 5 or 6 guys, and it's pretty, pretty spread out to what the ability level is between the guys. So.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I think on the BC side of things, they're able to ride a lot longer, you know. But same thing, you know, Beaton, Colton, and those guys, Darcy Land, they kind of all grew up together, you know.
Right.
So I mean, I think that's something that we're creating a little bit here with me and Zach and even the Vero brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even seeing those kids come up, it's pretty cool to see them grow and, you know, really. Because I remember watching them on 60s and 85s, and then they're growing so fast.
Yeah.
I forget, because, you know, it's almost every year, you know,
Yeah.
junior, you win that, you know,
Yeah.
intermediate, and it's like next thing you know, they're right beside me on the line. So.
Kyle is phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a cool thing is to see these kids, you know, they're growing, and they're almost taking things to the next level where, you know, I almost decided that I wanted to be a motocrosser at the age of 15 or whatever, and these kids are 13 or 14 making these decisions.
And they're
almost like, you know, 2 or 3 years ahead of where I even was.
Right.
And even their skill level and everything, it's incredible to see how quick they are already.
Right. Where do you think the turning point was? I know you said when you were intermediate at 15 you decided to try and make a stab at the motocross career thing, but where do you think the turning point was for you in having a career in motocross? Where did things kind of speed up and take off for you?
I would say the last 2 years have been really really up and down, and they've taught me the most. I mean, as you know, my national numbers, you can go and look at them. They were 114, 85, 37, 31, 23, and then 6. So every single year for almost 5 years, there was a constant gain, right? So I always had the motive and determination over that. You know, we kept getting better and better, and that's one thing me and my dad talked about is, you know, as long as I was, you know, kept getting better and progressed, then we would keep going at it and see where it took us.
Right.
And so, I mean, getting down to that number 6 was pretty incredible, and then just that whole last year struggling with, you know, bikes and just crashes and things like that, it was kind of an eye-opener to, you know, do I really want to do this? Do I really want to sacrifice myself and, you know, broken bones and all that stuff? But
speaking of broken bones, have you ever had any broken bones other than your shoulder?
I've had a lot of broken bones, broken femur, foot, pretty much my whole right side of my body, my shoulders, you know, scapula.
Yeah. Where did you break your femur? Is that Montreal?
Yeah, there was 2 years at Montreal, back to back. First year I broke my femur, and then the second year I broke my foot. Yeah, I mean,
Montreal hasn't been good to
exactly. Well,
Saskatchewan riders.
And that was the crazy part is when Blair got paralyzed there. I actually crashed about 5 minutes before he did and broke my femur. So yeah, I mean, it was, you know, when you're in those moments when you're even sitting in the hospital, you're like wondering why you even do this. But
how do you overcome that type of adversity? What's the thought process that helps you or gets you through that?
I think one of the biggest things is just our ability to heal so fast as athletes. You know, when you're 19 or 20 and all you do is train and go to school and you know, you don't have a lot of stress in your life, you're able to heal fast. Like my femur was only like a 6-week deal, so
that's all.
Yeah, and like I was almost back to normal, and strength was back and everything. So I mean, I think it's things like that. But when it comes to the riding and stuff, it is still a thought that goes through my head, obviously.
The mind.
Obviously it's something that you can't forget. Once you experience something, your mind's not going to go, oh yeah, no, don't worry about that. But no, it's something that, it's one of those stepping stones where, again, mentally you just have to get over that fear and trust yourself, you know. That's why we go down to California and we almost put like 60 to 80 hours on our bikes before we even come up here and race. It's just to build that mindset and that physical fitness to know that you're capable of doing anything at any time.
Right. I know, like Connor, he's had a bad run. He's had 3 DNFs in this season where he's gotten some concussions and stuff, and he's really struggling. He's starting to come around, but it's been 3 weekends.
Yeah.
And I don't really say much to him.
Yeah.
I just, you know, I'll do your best, and that's all you can do.
Yeah, and you're right, that's all you can do, right? It's not like, you know, obviously at their level, at the junior level, or even intermediate, it's not your job. It's not,
No.
you know.
No.
So, you know, if you're not going to take that risk, it's okay. I don't think anybody's going to be really mad at you, right?
No,
So,
that's right.
I mean, obviously we have a couple of parents that are pretty tough on their little guys and stuff, but
Yeah.
I think that's an enemy sport. But
What about in your career, though, when you've got to make that decision? How do you make that decision? Then, because you've got the pressure, right?
yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, it's not something that.
Because
It's not something
it's
that
your
you really.
career.
Yeah.
If you push too hard, it could be career ending.
Exactly.
But if you don't push hard enough,
I think that's where a lot of us get separated. Is we're really good at riding our fine line.
Yeah.
Like if you watch some of us ride, it's like, holy, that guy is on the edge. You know,
Right.
where he's just about crashing, or you know.
you got to go to the edge without falling over
exactly. It's
Yeah.
your ability to push your edge as much as possible and know when to back down and know because your edge is always constantly changing as you go around the track, right? Obviously, if you come into one corner and it's dry, your edge is going to be a little different than if it's wet, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just that ability to judge, you know. I would say judge. How should I put this? I always think of it as nothing else really matters except your tires connected to the ground, right? So obviously there's all these components that are, you know, suspension, motor, all of it changes how your tires hit the ground and everything. But in the end, it's still your ability to feel the ground and make decisions that are coming up in the ground, right? So,
or be able to know what's coming.
exactly. So that
Anticipate what's going to happen.
and that's where a lot of seat time comes in. Like, there's a book, and Malcolm Gladwell, and he talks about the 10,000 hour rule, where Michael Jordan, all these professional athletes, they begin to peak at their 10,000th hour in their sport.
Right.
So you need that many hours in something to become your very best at it.
To be a professional.
Exactly. So I think that's the biggest thing, is just getting that seat time and being able. You have so much experience in your mind, and you're able to make so many decisions fairly quickly. Like when we were riding a dirt bike, you're almost doing 5 to 8 things at one time.
Right.
You know, that's almost as much as flying a helicopter. So
Yeah.
I mean, some people, you know, they get mad at kids and stuff when they're not able to do something, but when it comes right down to it, you're doing so many things on the bike that it's pretty incredible when it just becomes natural for you to do something and you don't have to think about it.
Some of these 12-year-olds and 10-year-olds are pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like watching these guys grow up,
Yeah.
and just seeing what they can do and just what they can, you know, their thought patterns. Even watching them ride, it's incredible to see how advanced they are.
Yeah.
Compared to when we were growing up and the things that we were doing.
Yeah.
It's just really cool to see how far they've come and how much they're learning.
Is there any recommendations you could have for a young up-and-comer that would want to choose motocross as a career? Any path that you would recommend? Like, there's so many things in the media now that they're putting out there for motocross that it's kind of almost training the young riders to think, oh, well, this is what you got to do if you're going to be a pro rider. You got to do this and you got to do that. I think a lot of the younger kids get almost overwhelmed by it. They just look at it and think, oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, we
The
can't even
checklist
afford
is-
a trailer.
Yeah, the checklist is, 6 pages long or whatever.
Yeah, like you growing up, you basically lived close to a track, got lots of seat time, and just decided to do it. Is there anything looking back that you would have done differently? Or any recommendations that you would make to anybody that would like to?
I mean, looking back, I don't think I would have changed anything. Just because the experiences I've had taught me a lot.
Yeah.
And,
Made you where you
yeah,
are
even my
today.
injuries, they've taught me a lot. And that's kind of, what I base my career on is what I've experienced. But, I mean, growing up, I think the biggest thing is don't look at the big picture. Just look at every small detail that, whether it be the fact that you come into a corner and you're on your heel instead of your toe on your bike. You have to get down to that small a detail.
Right.
But when you're first, if you're like, okay, I really want to get faster, I really want to gain, you have to be determined to do that for the 3 or 4 months that we're able to ride up here in Canada. You can't just be,
Yeah.
all excited about it for a week. Really focus on training and stuff. It's got to be, it's got to be a 4-month thing.
You got to break it down into small goals.
Exactly.
You say, I'm going to do this first, and then I'm going to do that, and I'm going to smoke. It's good to have a big picture, but you got to focus on the little steps that it's going to take to get there.
And I think that was where Todd helped me out a lot. Is we always had a plan, and we always set, a yearly goal. We always set like a 3-month goal. And we would set weekly goals. We always had goals about where we wanted to get to. So we always had an idea of what the path we were on. And I remember actually watching a video with Ricky Carmichael. It was kind of the same mentality he had. Is always have a plan on what you're doing. Never just go to the track to ride.
Just aimlessly.
Yeah. If you're going to the track and you want to relax and just go do some fun, that's your plan.
Right.
If you're going to the track to work on corners or work on this, work on that, that's your plan. Or, you should never go to the gym to lift weights. Always have a purpose and always see where you're going with your plan.
Right.
And I would say that would be the biggest thing, is I would be more planned out of what I did in the past. Obviously that's something I learned.
Right.
And that's where I see a lot of these kids growing up is they seem a lot better planned. And I think their parents have helped them out a lot more with that. But also keeping it fun, right? Like, this is my job now. So, when I look at it, if I want to win, I need to go out, 3 or 4 times a week and ride. And, it doesn't matter if it's plus 40, if it's, if it's hot, I got to ride, that's my job.
Right.
So I don't get to go to the lakes on those days and stuff like that. But, that's one thing my dad really helped me with, is keeping it fun growing up.
Yeah.
And then when it was time to make it my job, and, he explained to me, this is your job.
Yeah.
You have to do it. So.
Yeah.
It's being planned and organized. I think that would be the biggest thing.
This Todd Schoonlack, is he somebody that's in Swift Current?
He actually lives in Whistler, BC.
Whistler, BC?
Yep, way out by Vancouver.
How did you get into contact with him?
Well, we were looking at trainers after that intermediate year, and he was one that popped up. My dad actually talked to Blair about him and stuff, and we kind of got connected through that. And then I talked to him on the phone a couple times, and he drove down to Swift and got me started on a program.
Oh yeah.
And that was kind of the start of that, and we've been going since.
So he still is your trainer?
Yeah, he's still my trainer to this day. So.
Yeah. Do you guys communicate by email, or do you communicate by
phone, email. We lived together in California pretty much all that winter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we talk quite a bit, but at the same time, he's fairly confident that I know what to do.
Right.
He's guided me enough that he knows that I'll make the right decisions when the time comes.
Yeah. Good. Well, that's what I got for now. Oh yeah, have you always ridden Yamahas other than the KTM?
I have. We rode that KTM 50, and then I rode a Kawasaki 60. And then after that, we rode Yamahas all the way. I mean, obviously I've ridden other bikes. And, every once in a while, but Yamaha has supported me. We obviously supported them by buying bikes and stuff. Yeah. But as soon as I, started showing up on the radar on the pro scene, they've taken very good care of me. And yeah, to this day, they still back me on the Rockstar Yamaha team.
Yeah.
So.